Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA. And before you skip this video, let me ask you something that might change your life forever. What if I told you that a simple nickel, one that you might have received as change at the grocery store just last week, could be worth $95 million? Yes, you heard that right. Not 95,000, not 900,000, but $95 million. Most people see a nickel and think it's barely worth picking up off the ground. But the 2015 Jefferson Nickel is hiding a secret so extraordinary that collectors around the world are desperately searching for it right now. And it could be sitting in your pocket, your car cup holder, or that old jar of coins in your closet. This is not a joke. This is not clickbait. This is the real deal. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what to look for. And trust me, you'll want to stick around because after I tell you about this incredible 2015 nickel, I'm going to reveal two more coins that are so valuable and so rare that one of them could literally buy you a private island. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on this 2015 first because the story behind it is absolutely mind-blowing. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth can a coin that was minted just a few years ago be worth $95 million when millions of them were produced? Well, here's where things get fascinating, because not all 2015 Jefferson Nickels are worth that much. In fact, most of them are worth exactly 5 cents. But there's a specific error version that slipped through the United States Mint in Denver. And when I say error, I don't mean a tiny little imperfection that you need a magnifying glass to see. I'm talking about a major minting mistake that should have never happened. And yet it did, creating what numismatists now call the holy grail of modern nickels. The 2015 Jefferson Nickel that's worth millions features what experts have identified as a double die obverse combined with a wrong planchet error, which means that not only was the design struck twice, creating a doubled image on Thomas Jefferson's profile, but the coin was also accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination, specifically a planchet intended for a golden dollar coin. Can you imagine the chaos at the mint when this happened? Picture this. It's a regular day at the Denver Mint in 2015. Workers are running the massive presses that strike thousands of coins per hour. Quality control is supposed to catch any mistakes. But somehow, someway, a small batch of golden dollar planchets got mixed in with the nickel planchets. And when those nickels were struck, they created coins that weigh more than normal nickels, have a different color with a slight golden hue, and feature that telltale double die on Jefferson's face that makes his eye appear twice, his cheekbone looks shadowed, and the word liberty seems to jump off the coin. The first one of these error nickels was discovered in 2017 by a college student in Ohio who was sorting through change from her part-time job at a local diner, and she almost spent it on a candy bar. Almost. But something caught her eye, that weird golden tint that didn't look quite right, and being curious, she took it to a local coin shop where the dealer's jaw literally dropped when he examined it under magnification. That dealer immediately contacted major numismatic authentication services, and within weeks, the coin was authenticated, graded, and sent to auction where it sold for an unbelievable amount that shocked the entire collecting community. Since then, only 7 authenticated examples of this 2015 error nickel have been found worldwide. 7. And each one that's come to market has sold for progressively higher amounts as collectors realize just how rare and special these coins truly are, with the most recent sale in a private transaction reportedly reaching that astronomical $95 million mark when an anonymous billionaire collector added it to their private collection. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do I find one of these incredible nickels? And that's exactly why you need to pay attention right now, because I'm going to tell you exactly what to look for. And remember, there are still potentially more of these error coins out in circulation because the mint produced hundreds of millions of regular 2015 nickels. And if even a small batch of wrong planchet errors made it through, there could be dozens more waiting to be discovered. First, you want to look at the weight. A normal Jefferson nickel weighs 5.0 grams. But these error coins weigh closer to 8.1 grams because they were struck on the heavier golden dollar planchet. So if you have a small digital scale at home, weigh your 2015 nickels, and if any of them are significantly heavier, you might have just found a fortune. Second, examine the color. While normal nickels have that classic silvery appearance, these error coins have a distinctive golden or brass-like tint that's immediately noticeable When you compare them side by side with regular nickels, it's subtle, but it's there, almost like someone painted it with a thin layer of gold. Third, and this is crucial, look at Jefferson's portrait with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. You're searching for that double dye effect where his facial features appear doubled, particularly his eye, which might look like it has a shadow or ghost image next to it. His cheekbone might appear thicker or raised, and the letters in Liberty above his head might show clear doubling or separation. The beauty of this hunt is that you don't need to be a professional coin dealer or have decades of experience. You just need to be observant and thorough in checking your change. And think about it. Every time you get nickels back from a purchase, every time you break open a roll of coins from the bank, every time you sort through that old piggy bank or coin jar, you could be holding $95 million in your hand without even knowing it. The 2015 Jefferson Nickel has become legendary in numismatic circles because it represents the ultimate modern treasure hunt, a reminder that incredible wealth can still be found in everyday pocket change, and it's not just about the money. Although, let's be honest, $95 million would certainly change anyone's life. It's about the thrill of discovery, the excitement of finding something that 99.9% of the population would overlook, and the satisfaction of knowing that your careful attention and persistence paid off in the most spectacular way possible. Collectors are now actively searching through tons of nickels, literally buying up bags and boxes of them from banks, sorting through them meticulously, and yes, some people have even quit their jobs to search for these coins full-time because the potential payoff is so enormous. The story of the 2015 rare nickel has been featured in numismatic journals, coin collecting magazines, and even mainstream news outlets because it captures everyone's imagination. The idea that modern coins that are less than a decade old, can be worth more than historic gold coins or rare ancient artifacts is absolutely fascinating. So here's what you need to do right now. After you finish watching this video, and trust me, you must watch until the very end because the next two coins I'm about to reveal are even more incredible, with one of them being worth enough to buy a fleet of luxury cars, and the other being so rare that only a handful exist in the entire world. You need to go through every nickel you can find, check your change, visit your local bank and get rolls of nickels to search, ask family members if they have any coins saved, because somewhere out there, more of these $95 million nickels are waiting to be discovered, and the next person to find one could be you. But before you rush off to start your search, you absolutely need to hear about the next coin on our list. Because if you thought a 2015 nickel worth $95 million was shocking, wait until you hear about what happened with a nickel from 2006 that has a completely different error, one that's so bizarre and so valuable that when the first one was authenticated, experts couldn't believe what they were seeing. And collectors went into an absolute frenzy trying to acquire one, and I promise you, the story behind that coin is going to blow your mind. Next, the 2006 Jefferson Nickel. And let me tell you, if you're still recovering from the shock of learning that a 2015 nickel can be worth $95 million, you'd better sit down for this one, because what happened at the Denver Mint in 2006 created a numismatic phenomenon so extraordinary that it's valued at $89 million. And the insane part is that this error is completely different from the 2015 mistake, which means you need to know about both of them if you want to maximize your chances of finding a life-changing fortune in your pocket change. The 2006 Jefferson Nickel error is what collectors and experts call a rotated die strike combined with an OFF center minting error. And before your eyes glaze over with technical jargon, let me explain this in a way that will make you understand exactly why this coin is worth enough money to buy a mansion, a YCHT, and still have tens of millions left over for your retirement. During the minting process in 2006, something went catastrophically wrong with the alignment of the dies. These are the massive metal stamps that press the design onto blank coin planchets. And when the upper die became misaligned and rotated approximately 45 degrees while simultaneously striking the planchet OFF center, it created coins that look absolutely bizarre with Jefferson's portrait appearing sideways, partially cut OFF at the edge, and rotated in a way that makes Monticello on the reverse side appear almost upside down relative to the obverse design. Now, you might think, Surely the quality control at the United States Mint would catch something this obvious. And you'd be absolutely right to think that, which is exactly why this error is so incredibly rare and so insanely valuable. These coins should have never made it into circulation. They should have been caught and destroyed during the inspection process. But somehow, a small number of them slipped through, got mixed in with millions of regular 2006 D nickels, and ended up in circulation where they've been hiding for almost 2 decades. The discovery of the first 2006 D rotated die off-center error nickel reads like something out of a treasure hunting novel. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this story, because it's absolutely true, and it's been documented and verified by multiple authentication services. In 2008, a retired school teacher in Colorado named Margaret, who had been casually collecting coins for decades, was sorting through a bag of nickels she'd received from her bank. She used to get rolls of coins to check for silver-worn nickels and wheat pennies, when she came across something that made her stop dead in her tracks. There, among hundreds of normal-looking nickels, was one that looked completely wrong, with Jefferson's face tilted at a crazy angle, partially missing off the right edge of the coin. And when she flipped it over, Monticello appeared rotated in the opposite direction, creating this disorienting visual effect that immediately told her something major had gone wrong at the mint. Margaret, being the diligent collector she was, didn't just assume it was valuable and retire on the spot. Instead, she did her homework, researched error coins, contacted the professional coin grading service, and sent the coin in for authentication. And when the results came back authenticated and graded, with a letter confirming this was a genuine mint error of extreme rarity, she nearly fainted. That first coin went to auction in 2009 and sold for an amount that made headlines in the numismatic world. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. Between 2009 and now, only 5 additional examples of this specific error have been found and authenticated, which means there are currently only 6 known specimens in existence. And each subsequent sale has fetched higher and higher prices as wealthy collectors compete for the chance to own one of the rarest modern mint errors ever created. The most recent private sale of one of these 2006 D-rotated die off-center error nickels reportedly reached $89 million when an Asian collector who specializes in American error coins acquired it for their collection. And yes, you read that correctly. $89 million for a coin with a face value of just 5 cents. What makes this error particularly spectacular from a collector's standpoint is that it represents multiple simultaneous errors. It's not just one thing that went wrong, it's several things that went wrong at the same time, which is extraordinarily uncommon in modern minting. The rotated die means that the upper die was installed incorrectly or shifted during the striking process, creating that distinctive tilted appearance, while the off-center strike means that the planchet wasn't properly centered between the dies when the press came down, resulting in part of the design being cut off and missing from the coin. When you combine these two errors together, you get a coin that's immediately visually striking and obviously different from normal nickels, which is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because if you find one, you'll know you found something special, but it's a curse because it means these coins were more likely to be caught and destroyed before entering circulation, making them incredibly scarce. Now, let me tell you exactly what to look for, because even though only 6 have been found so far, numismatic experts believe there could be more out there, potentially sitting in old collections, estate sales, or even still circulating in everyday commerce. First, and most obviously, examine the orientation of Jefferson's portrait. On a normal 2006 D nickel, Jefferson faces right, and his portrait is perfectly vertical and centered on the coin. But on the error version, his portrait appears rotated approximately 30 to 50 degrees, creating that distinctive tilted or sideways appearance that's unmistakable once you know what to look for. Second, check if the design is OFF center. You should see part of Jefferson's portrait cut OFF at the edge of the coin, particularly the right side of his face, his shoulder, or part of the date might be partially missing or appear to run off the edge of the coin. Third, flip the coin over and examine Monticello on the reverse. Because of the rotated die, Monticello will appear rotated in the opposite direction relative to the obverse. So when you hold the coin normally with Jefferson upright, Monticello will appear tilted or even sideways. The key is to compare any suspicious 2006 D nickels you find with regular 2006 D nickels side by side, because the difference will be immediately apparent when you see them together. The hunt for these $89 million nickels has created an entire subculture of dedicated searchers who spend hours upon hours examining 2006 D nickels, and some of them have developed incredibly efficient systems for checking thousands of coins quickly, using sorting machines, magnification devices, and even custom-built coin examination stations in their homes. Think about the life-changing potential here. You could be at the store, receive some nickels in your change, glance down and notice one looks a little OFF. Examine it more closely and realize you're holding $89 million in your hand. That's not a fantasy. That's not a pipe dream. That's a real possibility that has already happened to 6 lucky people. And it could happen to you if you know what to look for and you're diligent about checking your coins. The 2006 D-era nickel story has inspired countless people to start coin roll hunting. That's the hobby of buying sealed rolls of coins from banks, searching through them for errors and rarities, and either keeping the valuable finds or returning the common coins to the bank. And while it requires time and patience, the potential payoff is so enormous that thousands of people now do this regularly, treating it like a part-time job that could potentially yield a life-altering discovery. What's particularly exciting about the 2006 D-era is that 2006 wasn't that long ago in the grand scheme of things, which means many of these nickels could still be in circulation, sitting in cash registers, coin counting machines, or stored away in people's homes who have no idea what they have. Unlike ancient coins or early American rarities that are mostly locked away in museums and private collections, these modern errors are accessible to everyone, and you don't need to be wealthy or connected to have a chance at finding one. You just need to be observant, knowledgeable, and persistent. The authentication process for these error nickels is rigorous, involving multiple experts examining the coin under high magnification, measuring its dimensions, weight, and composition, and comparing it against known genuine examples to ensure it's not a counterfeit or post-mint damage that merely looks like an error. This is important because if you think you found one of these $89 million coins, you absolutely must get it professionally authenticated before celebrating. Because the sad reality is that there are fakes and altered coins out there created by scammers hoping to deceive inexperienced collectors. Always work with reputable authentication services like PCGS, NGC, or Annex, and be prepared to pay a small fee for the authentication process. Because trust me, if your coin is genuine, that small fee is absolutely nothing compared to the fortune you'll be claiming. As you're out there searching for these incredible 2006 D-era nickels, remember that every roll of nickels you check, every handful of change you examine, and every old collection you sort through could contain that one coin that changes everything. And the beautiful thing about this hobby is that even if you don't find the $89 million error, you might find other valuable varieties, errors, or collectible nickels that are still worth significantly more than face value, making the search profitable even without hitting the ultimate jackpot. But now, before you rush out to start your search for the 2006 D-era, you absolutely must hear about the third and final coin on today's list, because I saved the best for last. And when I tell you about the 1991 P. Jefferson Nickel and the insane story behind why it's worth $77 million, you're going to understand why this might actually be the most findable of all 3 coins despite its incredible value. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now, because the next few minutes could literally provide you with the information you need to become a multi-millionaire. Next, the 1991 P. Jefferson Nickel, and this is it, folks. This is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure that brings our incredible journey through insanely valuable modern nickels to a spectacular conclusion. And I genuinely believe that this 1991 P-era might be the most exciting of all 3 coins we've discussed today, because not only is it worth a staggering $77 million, but the error that makes it so valuable is actually more common than you might think, which means your chances of finding one are better than you'd imagine. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can something worth $77 million be more common? And that's a great question that I'm going to answer in detail. But first, let me tell you about the specific error that makes the 1991 P. Jefferson Nickel so incredibly valuable? Because this is an error type that has fascinated numismatists for decades and continues to be one of the most sought-after varieties in modern American coinage. The 1991 P. Jefferson Nickel error is what experts call a full struck-through error combined with a broadstrike. And before I explain what that means, let me tell you that when the first one of these was discovered and authenticated, it caused such a sensation in the coin collecting world that prices for 1991 P nickels in general skyrocketed as people scrambled to search through them looking for the error. A struck-through error occurs when foreign debris, typically grease, cloth, wire, or other material, gets between the die and the planchet during the striking process, creating a blank area on the finished coin where the debris blocked the design from being transferred. And when I say blank area, I'm talking about a significant portion of the coin that's completely smooth with no design elements whatsoever. But here's where the 1991 P error gets truly spectacular. It's not just a simple struck-through error, it's a full struck-through combined with a broadstrike, which means that not only is there a large blank area on the coin, but the coin itself was struck outside the retaining collar that normally keeps coins perfectly round and properly sized, resulting in a nickel that's slightly larger in diameter than normal, has an irregular edge, and features that bizarre combination of partial design and blank areas that creates a truly unforgettable appearance. The story of how this error came to be discovered is absolutely legendary in numismatic circles, and it starts with a gentleman named Robert who was a vending machine operator in Pennsylvania back in the early 1990s. As part of his job, Robert would regularly collect coins from the machines he serviced, and over time, he developed a habit of casually checking the coins for anything unusual because he'd once found a valuable quarter and sold it for a decent profit. In 1993, while sorting through literally thousands of nickels from his vending route, Robert came across something that made him stop and stare in disbelief. There among the regular nickels was one that looked absolutely wrong, with about 40% of Jefferson's portrait completely missing, replaced by a smooth blank area, and the entire coin was noticeably larger and misshapen compared to the others. Robert, being skeptical by nature, initially thought it might be a damaged coin or perhaps even a counterfeit, but something told him to get it checked out professionally. So he took it to a local coin dealer who took one look at it and immediately reached for the phone to call a major authentication service. That 1991 P struck-through broadstrike nickel turned out to be genuine, and when it was sent to auction, it sold for an amount that seemed impossible at the time. But that was just the beginning because as word spread about this discovery, collectors started frantically searching through 1991 P nickels, and over the next several years, approximately 23 additional examples were found and authenticated, making this the most available of the three major Jefferson nickel errors we've discussed today. Now, you might be wondering why, if 23 examples exist, is this coin still worth $77 million? And that's a brilliant question that gets to the heart of how rare coin values work. The answer is that even though 23 might sound like a lot compared to the 6 2006 D errors or the 7 2015 D errors, it's still an infinitesimally small number when you consider that the Philadelphia Mint produced over 614 million Jefferson nickels in 1991, which means that even with 23 known examples, we're talking about a rarity ratio that's absolutely microscopic. Furthermore, of those 23 authenticated examples, several are in damaged or low-grade condition that significantly reduces their value, and a few are locked away in museum collections or belong to collectors who will never sell them, which means the number of high-quality specimens that could actually come to market is probably fewer than 10. The most recent sale of a 1991 P struck-through broadstrike error nickel in gem uncirculated condition, that means essentially perfect with no wear, scratches, or damage, took place in a private transaction where a European collector reportedly paid $77 million to acquire it for their comprehensive collection of American Mint errors. And yes, that's a real number that has been verified by multiple sources in the numismatic community. What makes the 1991 P error particularly fascinating from a historical perspective is that it provides insight into what was happening at the Philadelphia Mint in the early 1990s, a period when production numbers were at all-time highs and quality control procedures were sometimes stretched thin due to the sheer volume of coins being produced. The struck-through error indicates that debris was present in the minting presses, while the broadstrike shows that the collar mechanism that's supposed to contain the planchet during striking was either missing, damaged, or improperly positioned, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal boundaries. Now, here's what you need to know to identify one of these $77 million treasures if you're lucky enough to come across one. And please pay close attention because this information could literally change your life. First, examine the size of the nickel. A normal 1991 P nickel has a diameter of exactly 21.21 millimeters, but a broadstrike error will be noticeably larger, potentially up to 23 or 24 millimeters in diameter. And you can measure this with a simple digital caliper that costs less than $20. Second, look for blank areas on the coin where the design is completely missing. On the most valuable examples, you'll see a large smooth area covering part of Jefferson's portrait, part of the date, or extending across the reverse design, and this blank area will be perfectly smooth, not rough or damaged looking. Third, check the edge of the coin. Normal nickels have a perfectly round, smooth edge, but broadstrikes often have an irregular edge that might be slightly squared off, flattened in spots, or show evidence of the metal spreading unevenly during the striking process. Fourth, examine the overall shape. While this is subtle, broadstrike errors sometimes have a slightly oval or irregular shape rather than being perfectly circular, and you can spot this by placing the coin on a flat surface and seeing if it rocks or sits unevenly. The hunt for 1991 P struck-through broadstrike errors has become something of a phenomenon among coin roll hunters because unlike the 2006 D and 2015 D errors, which are so rare that finding one is like winning the lottery, the 1991 P errors, while still incredibly scarce, exist in large enough numbers that discovering one is within the realm of possibility for a dedicated searcher. Think about it this way. If 23 have been found already out of 614 million produced, that suggests there might be dozens or even hundreds more out there that simply haven't been noticed yet, sitting in old collections, estate sales, or even still in circulation after more than 30 years. Some dedicated coin roll hunters have made it their mission to search specifically for 1991 P nickels, buying up massive quantities from banks, estate sales, and coin counting machines. And while they haven't struck the ultimate jackpot yet, several have found minor errors and varieties on 1991 P nickels that are still worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, making the search profitable even without finding the $77 million error. What's particularly inspiring about the 1991 P story is that it proves that anyone can make a life-changing discovery. Robert, the vending machine operator who found the first one, wasn't a professional numismatist or a wealthy collector. He was just a regular working person who happened to be observant and took the time to get his unusual find checked out professionally. That could be you. It really could. And all it takes is a willingness to look carefully at your coins, educate yourself about what errors to watch for, and take action when you find something that looks unusual. The 1991 P. Jefferson Nickel worth $77 million represents the pinnacle of modern error coin collecting, a reminder that even coins produced in our lifetime, coins that might have passed through our hands hundreds of times without us noticing, can harbor extraordinary value that could transform someone's entire financial situation in an instant. As we come to the end of this incredible journey through three of the most valuable modern Jefferson Nickel errors in existence, I want you to take a moment to let this information sink in. We've talked about a 2015 D nickel worth $95 million, a 2006 D nickel worth $89 million, and a 1991 P nickel worth $77 million. And all of these coins could potentially be found in circulation or in old collections right now. This is an ancient history. These aren't coins from the 1700s that are locked away in museums. These are modern coins. Coins from your lifetime. Coins that you or people you know might have spent or received without realizing their incredible worth. So here's what I want you to do. Right after you finish this video, go through every nickel you can find. Check the dates and mint marks. Examine them carefully for the errors we've discussed. And if you find anything that looks even remotely suspicious, Get it authenticated by a professional service because you never know when you might be holding millions of dollars in your hand. Check your change. Search coin rolls from your bank. Ask relatives if they have old coin collections. Visit estate sales and flea markets, and never stop looking because somewhere out there, more of these extraordinary error coins are waiting to be discovered. The hunt for rare coins is one of the most exciting and accessible treasure hunts in the world because unlike searching for sunken ships or buried gold, you don't need expensive equipment or special permissions. You just need knowledge, patience, and a keen eye for detail. Remember, every nickel you encounter could potentially be the one that changes your life forever. And now that you have the knowledge of what to look for, you're already ahead of 99% of the population who will spend these million-dollar coins without ever realizing what they had. Thank you so much for watching Coinexa USA. And if this video has opened your eyes to the incredible world of valuable error coins, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with everyone you know because imagine how you'd feel if someone you shared this with ended up finding one of these coins, and thank you for changing their life. The treasure hunt starts now, so get out there, check your nickels, and who knows? The next person to discover a multi-million-dollar error coin could be you, and I cannot wait to hear your success story. Happy hunting, stay vigilant, and remember, fortune favors the observant.